There are major changes proposed for Ontario Place. A 7-story glass-enclosed spa and water park is being pushed by the province, which owns most of the land, and has become an issue in Toronto's mayoral race, in part because there is opposition to such a prime piece of public lakefront being leased to a private company. Yesterday came another twist when Premier Doug Ford hinted that Ontario Place could also be the new location for the Ontario Science Centre. So we're turning now to Therme Canada, the private company with the plan. Simon Bredon is its manager of communications and public engagement. He joins me in studio. Simon, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. You used to work for Waterfront Toronto, which has been transformational in this city in terms of redeveloping the waterfront, but part of its mandate was maintaining public access. You now work for a private company that will consume most of that land for private access, for people who are paying to go to a spa, to a wellness center, to a water park. Why should public land be in the hands of a private company?
Well, David, I think it's actually important to take a step back here and clarify what the actual proportion of public to private is going to be on the site. You know, if you look at the overall Ontario Place, the area that our location is going to be occupying on the West Island, it's about a little more than 10%. And if you look overall, more than 75% of the site is going to be free, publicly accessible parkland that we're helping to upgrade and improve. Mm-hmm. So we actually think this sort of arrangement where a private business that has a ticketed attraction pays to support a vastly improved public realm is actually the right model for Ontario Place.
How do you actually pay for that? Because you talk about the access being free to things like the waterfront and an expanded beach, but how do you, nothing in life is free. How do you actually pay for that?
Right. Well, the way that it will work is that we will be paying the province, who will be responsible for the upkeep of all of those public lands.
You'll be paying them?
We for the portions on the West Island, we'll be paying for that. About $100 million worth of investment in those public areas.
Okay. How long is that lease?
It's a multi-year lease.
Why can't you say how long it is?
You know, the provincial government is currently negotiating leases with, I think, a few other potential tenants for the site. As I said, it's a very big site. So I think to talk about that in more detail would undermine their ability to negotiate that. But again, it's a multi-year lease. And the terms of the lease also commit us to maintaining those public spaces and to that financial arrangement I just mentioned.
$100 million. Is that the value of the lease?
That's the value of that that we'll be investing in the public realm. So there's areas around the West Island, the new beach, the upgraded trails, festival gathering spaces, those kinds of things.
So Simon, part of the reason I'm trying to get to some of the details here, you say you're not able to talk about how long the lease is. I mean, it could be 99 years for all we know, and that's the issue, is that we don't actually have transparency as part of the public. Why should the public not be concerned when they actually can't see through a deal on such a prime piece of waterfront real estate?
You know, I think what's actually important to remember here is that the province is going to be retaining control of all of these lands. Mm-hmm. They're not selling them to us, they're leasing them to us. Again, it's a commercially sensitive deal, so I'm not able to get into those. But we are in the early stages of our public engagement and consultation process, so there's going to be lots of opportunities for the public to learn about what we're proposing to do down at Ontario Place.
Okay, give me a sense of what you are proposing.
Sure. So you have kids, right? Mm-hmm. So supposing you and your family were to visit our location on the West Island, inside, you know, the kids would be able to enjoy a water slide, a wave deck. You might be able to go get a drink and something to eat at one of our restaurants. Your wife might be able to go upstairs, have some treatments done, hang out in a sauna, enjoy, relax. And if you were to visit outside of our facilities, you know, there's a brand new beach, there's festival gathering spaces, there's improved bike trails and walking trails. So we think no matter what, people are going to be able to enjoy a really beautiful day down by the lake again by the time the revitalization is complete.
Therme, the company for which you work, has sites around the world. This is a thing that the company does, but it's mostly those sites on the outskirts of cities, and this is right in the heart of this city, on perhaps some of the most valuable land in the city. Why put it there? Why not sort of follow the pattern that the company has had around the world and put the spa and the wellness center and the water park somewhere else?
You know, we're really honored to be part of the provincial government's revitalization of Ontario Place. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful, iconic site, and we're helping to contribute to upgrade a lot of those public parks and facilities that I was talking about. You know, I think sort of the experience of being close to water, of being in water, is really central to what we're offering the public. And so we think this is a perfect site to improve the public's access to the waterfront, but also to enjoy, you know, like I was saying, those pools, wave decks, sort of indoor water experiences as well.
The access to the site involves a proposal to put 5 stories of parking structure underground. I know that's not something you'd build. The province is proposing to build it. It seems somewhat at odds with the province's sustainability goals, but that's their issue, I get, not yours. However, this is predicated on your projections of 14,000 people visiting the site a day on peak days. Where's that come from?
Yeah, I think it's actually important to be clear on that 14,000 number. That's the peak capacity of the building on on our biggest day. The actual visitor numbers that we're expecting are a little bit below that. But again, I think this is about revitalizing Ontario Place. It's about restoring it to become a real family-friendly destination that's attracting people not just from sort of the local neighborhood, but from right across the province, and also visitors to Toronto from all around the world.
What happens if you don't get the numbers you expect? Who's on the hook?
Well, we're very confident in our business plan, and the province, when they put out that bid for proposals and invited us to participate, they also took a look at those numbers. So, there's a lot of ideas for how to revitalize the overall Ontario Place site, and I think it's going to be really exciting to see folks coming down there once again.
This is a vast site. Yesterday, the Premier floated the idea that the Ontario Science Centre, currently in the East End, may move down to be on part of the Ontario Place site. Usually when the Premier of a province floats something, it actually ends up happening. Can you shed any light on that?
I think it's an interesting idea for sure. We welcome everyone's input in terms of how best to reanimate this site. It's unfortunate that it's been allowed to degrade to the condition that it's currently in. We see the Ontario Science Centre as a great potential neighbor for us. As I said, we're trying to create a real family-friendly destination, and the Ontario Science Centre could easily be a part of that. It's a big, beautiful waterfront site, and so we welcome the idea.
You've said you're listening to Torontonians. Your CEO put out a press release the other day saying you're listening to Torontonians. The city councillor for this area, Osma Malik, actually spoke to us yesterday. I wanted to get your response to her concerns, which I'll play right now.
It's very hard to see how this giant spa, this overlarge glass structure, the limits to public access and public realm, how it actually belongs at Ontario Place. You named the piece around the size of the structure, around not meeting our transit and climate goals. It has to be transparent and open. And one of the most critical and unacceptable things about this whole process around Ontario Place is that it has been really opaque and really has not been respecting the voices of Torontonians and Ontarians.
When you say you're listening and you hear that opposition, how do you respond?
Yeah, I was in the room for...
Sorry.
I was actually in the room with Osma during that, Councillor Malik, during that community council meeting for 12 hours, listening to all of those deputations. And, you said my job that includes public engagement will be out tomorrow at the Beanfield Centre. Again, we're expecting hundreds more people to come out and share their opinions there. In the conversations that I'm having with people, I hear people who are really excited about the opportunity to revitalize Ontario Place, to turn it into the kind of destination that it used to be.
Of course, that's not the only thing you're hearing. You're also hearing people saying, why is the building so massive? Will it block? I mean, the Globe and Mail's architecture critic calls the spa so large that it would be the worst building in Toronto.
Yeah, I think what you're hearing is a lot of the passion and commitment that people have to sort of getting this right. We think that our mix of sort of destination programming and improved public parks is the right mix. But, what I will say is that we're also early in this consultation process. Let me just give you one example. We've been working really closely with city staff. One of the concerns that they raised is the way that we designed our bridge going from the mainland over to the West Island was blocking views of the heritage structures like the Cinesphere or the pods. And so, we took that feedback away. We worked with our team of architects and designers. We redesigned that bridge. We shrank it. We made it glass. So we're preserving those heritage views. That's just one small example of the kind of design change that we can make coming out of this consultation process. And again, we're early in that. So we're looking forward to hearing what Torontonians want to see at this site and to hopefully delivering a really great experience.
I just want to loop back one more time to what we were talking about earlier, and that is the length of this lease. You say you can't say how long it is. Do you have any sense of whether Torontonians, people of Ontario, will actually ever learn the length of that lease?
I hope so. I mean, it's a question best directed to the province, but we're here, we're listening, and so I'm hoping to share as much as I can about it as soon as possible.
Yeah. What more can you do to alleviate the concerns that this process is not transparent, that it came about to many people suddenly who see Ontario Place and see, yes, it may not be reaching its potential right now, but they want to get it right. and are concerned that they're not actually able to see the process of trying to get it right.
Yeah, just 2 points on that. Ontario Place closed in 2011. Former Mayor John Tory chaired a panel on how best to revitalize it starting in 2012 under the previous government. That panel engaged in thousands of consultations. There was an RFP process. The province is doing a consultation process. We're now participating in the city's consultation process. So I actually think there's been a lot of opportunities for Torontonians to learn about what we're suggesting to do down there, to get involved in the process, to make their voice heard. And we'll continue those as well. We are participating in the city's development process, which is a pretty standard one. It involves these big in-person public meetings. The first one is tomorrow down at the Beanfield Centre. I'll be there. My colleagues will be there. And I think it's a question of just continuing to educate and to raise awareness about what we're proposing to do down at Ontario Place, which, again, that mix of sort of a ticketed attraction and using the revenues from that to upgrade and improve the public spaces. We think it's a good solution, and we're excited to keep talking about it.
If everything stays on the rails here, what's the target to open this?
Well, again, we're sort of in the development approvals process right now, but we're hoping to begin construction early 2025 and then open our doors in 2027.
All right. Simon, thank you very much for coming in. Certainly appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Simon Bredin is the senior manager